Have you realized that your career is actually a 40-year voyage? And if you're like me, well, you're probably only halfway through it. How then can you make the rest of your journey even more meaningful? We all change over time. What was important to us 10 years ago, like maybe money, job titles, may not be our top priority today. In fact, would what we enjoy today be of any value to us 10 years from now? So, are we chasing our current dreams at the expense of future goals? We need to review our past, reflect upon our present, and then create the future we want. We need to examine how things like financial security, career satisfaction, personal relationships factor into our life and how it should drive our career strategy.
So, instead of blindly putting in the hours of hard work every day, come, find out how you can achieve lasting career success and learn how to live a meaningful life through your career. Click the link to find out now.
Good morning, Singapore. Good morning, everyone on LinkedIn, and good morning everywhere else in the world. Welcome to the Career Success Show with Adrian and Yen, and together we are from Career Agility International. My name is Adrian Chu, and I'm the CEO founder. And together, as always, on every lovely Friday morning, we have Yen. How are you today, Yen?
Good morning. It's a lovely Friday indeed. I'm very, very happy it's Friday. So happy.
Yeah,
so
can you
happy it's
imagine
Friday.
Yeah, I know. Such a busy week we've had helping so many people. But the thing that really floors me is that it's September already. We're into
Yes, it is.
September. And everyone I'm speaking to are all making holiday plans for the end of the year because they're all going crazy. It's pent-up demand, isn't it?
It is nice to start planning your holiday. Please spend some time with family and friends, and definitely don't over-focus on just work.
Yeah, I think, and especially if you've been having a good year and you have hit all your targets for the year already, you can take your foot off the pedal a little bit. No, you didn't hear it from me, but sometimes it's you got a point. You have to focus on what's important rather than what's urgent. And work is always urgent, but family is important too, right?
Yeah, make plans for downtime, make plans to recharge, make plans to decompress, and to disconnect from the digital devices. I think that's really important. So
Yeah, and
that's what we need to do on the weekends.
Yeah, but there's also a big challenge, right? Nowadays, with the advent of technology, you can't even go on a vacation without still being having access to
Connected.
internet and hence work and hence
Yeah.
WhatsApp. So how would you suggest to people who want to go on a nice holiday and not be bugged by colleagues?
There's this thing called the out of office message. So put it up on all your Slack channels, put it up on all your WhatsApps, put it up on your emails in out of office. I will cater to it, or I will look at it when I return, or you can talk about if it's an emergency, please contact somebody. So have a backup. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can say that, no, I'm actually going on holiday on some remote island in Palau, and there's no internet connection there. And yeah, right.
Or at least
So-
they say it's intermittent. So it's intermittent, so you can choose when you want to go and connect back.
That's a good one. Internet access is intermittent. Therefore, it's happening for
Therefore,
meditation. Yeah, therefore, don't bug me.
Yeah.
But it
Anyway.
is sad because we have seen situations where even when the individuals on holiday, the bosses and the colleagues will still call up. And the worst thing is when you are in holidaying in a country that's in another time zone.
Yeah.
And then
Then you end up having to. No, it's not the end of the world if you don't.
It's not the end of the world. It's a happy problem to have. If you're on holiday, you're already having a big problem, right?
I think the organization will trudge along just fine without you. It's okay. Yeah.
And that's okay.
So let's move on to today's topic.
Yeah, we were talking very much about what's happening in the past. 3 weeks ago, we ran a topic on the biggest mid-career mistakes some people will make, and we wouldn't believe the amount of feedback we got with regards to people who have
Mm.
attempted and failed mid-career switches, and it was
Yeah.
painful to hear their stories because we know of such cases before already, right?
There have been, in our lifetime, when I mean, I don't know about you, Adrian, but the people I've met, right, from the time I started working until now, I've met so many individuals who have tried this thing called pivoting, right? So doing something completely different, or just changing the direction of their careers. And there are those that have successfully done it, and then there are those that kind of had to do a U-turn after that. Now, the
Mhm.
U-turn is particularly hard. So the turn itself is fine, right? We might just sort of turn left or turn right. And then after that, they have to do a complete U-turn in order to come back to what was, in order to again move ahead. Now, that's some, those hairpin turns are very, very difficult to execute. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the hook turns in Melbourne. So all the Aussies out there in Melbourne, you know what I mean. Never got used to them. But anyway, I digress. The thing about mid-career switches is sometimes it is an essential strategy that you have to deploy in your career, especially if your skill sets are a bit dated or the industry you're in is in decline or not so exciting anymore, or not growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to
So for
deploy.
survival, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you have to consider moving into a different environment that has more growth, more sustainability, and a longer term future. Because last thing you want is for your runway to reach a dead end and then you kind of fall over the cliff.
Yeah, and every time, what we always say to our clients is that every time there's a career move, whether or not it's just joining a competitor or leaving a company to join a new team, or even if you're in your own company and if you're in your current company and you're joining another division, any move is risky. And
Yes.
in fact, even staying in the same role could be risky as well. So there's risk everywhere you go. But especially when you are moving and into a new industry, into a new role, it's fraught with a lot of danger, and we want to learn how do you pivot safely into the new roles.
That's just our topic for today, and I'd like to do a quick plug-in for the book that we've just recently published and it's coming. And again, the purpose of why we do what we do is when Adrian says something like everything's risky. Yes, it is, and so how can we make it, I guess, easier a little bit? We give you some
Mhm.
ideas, some strategies, so that you have less emotional upheaval, so that you have more rational thinking, so that you can have that foundation and that scaffolding to make your career decisions just a little bit less risky. And
Yeah.
if it's just a little bit less risky and then it accumulates, and over time, perhaps you can
Mhm.
have more time for life and leisure and friends,
It
hobbies.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just a tipping point. Okay, just a little bit wiser with your career strategies. Yeah, you can just park everything else and not worry
Right?
about it and start to enjoy life as a whole.
Yeah. So again, I mean, the big picture of our purpose here is to make your career just a little bit smoother,
Mhm.
with some ideas,
Mhm.
so that we can go do more important and fun things.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the pivot. Come, come.
Back to the pivot. So let's talk about how do we pivot safely into a new role successfully. And one of the things we want to talk about is what is a mid-career switch? And what is mid-career switch?
It's when you convert your role, your tasks, your responsibilities, each, I suppose, into something different from what you've been doing all this while. So you probably have about 10 years of experience, and you're thinking, I need to try something different. So that's a mid-career switch. So it's not like an early career switch or a late career switch, which
Typically,
probably have less risk.
in the 30s, late 30s onwards, I think that would be a mid-career switch. In fact, and I would even say some people in the 50s, they would also consider switching as a mid-career switch because it's the career just goes on forever, doesn't it? So no matter which point in time you are still in midstream. So it's dangerous.
Midstream.
It's risky. Yeah, midstream. Let's not go there. Uh, okay, so and And that's where we're talking about now. Because if and it's particularly tricky because
Mm,
if you are an early career stage person, any U-turns you got to make or any detours, probably the ramifications and repercussions will not be as severe. But if you're in your 40s and you make a totally radical switch, and we've seen people who've done it before, okay, out of the blue, just because they heard someone say it was a good idea,
mm.
and they did it, and U-turning is not impossible, but it's financially and emotionally painful as well. So we're going to talk about this today on why some of the mid-career switches fail. And the biggest one, if you ask me, Yen, is this thing about unrealistic expectations. There are individuals who are so frustrated with their current jobs or their current careers that say, I'm just going to drop everything and I'm going to pivot into something else. And then I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be in nirvana, because wow. And it's, and then they expect everything to change, rainbows to come out, the thunderclouds go away, the unicorns come out and start singing songs for them. It's not always the case, is it? Especially when you're pivoting to something
The
totally new.
sometimes they are so triggered by their current situation that whatever else on across the fence looks really really green, and that's
Mm.
when a friend might they might have a conversation. A friend goes, oh, I'm really enjoying my bakery, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and the friend obviously is going to be sharing something a lot more politically correct, if you think about
Yeah,
it,
of
right? Because
course,
there's the
right?
ego and all that. So he's just going to tell you wonderful stories about how his work, because that's what we do. And
Yeah.
then you're thinking, gosh, I want to be like him, or I want to be like her. I shall quit my job and start a bakery just like
Mm.
her. And you did not get to
If
the
only, if
big,
only, if only.
but you didn't get into the big conversation of asking your friend about challenges, typical
Yeah.
day. You don't realize the days are so long. It's
Yeah.
difficult to find people. Your supply chain, you have to make sure that you get enough fresh cream. There's a lot going on. So
There is.
you don't see the forest for the trees.
Mhm.
And that's dangerous.
Yeah, and one of the things, the biggest mistakes I would say also is when you listen to people who have not even gone through the program, especially there are professional conversion programs right now sponsored by the government where you go in and you take the new courses, totally unrelated courses, and we're going to talk about later, okay? And then without doing any research or whatever it is, and then you have an unrealistic pivot. So we had a case of a teacher, okay, doing quite well, but she said, I don't want to be teaching for the rest of my life. She was in her late 30s, almost 40 already. And she said, I want to go into what's the latest sexy thing is UI UX design, because I heard so much about user interface and user experience, coding, learning Python. And she took the conversion program. She quit teaching. She took the conversion program. And at the end of it, she was not good enough to. She
Mm.
didn't have the aptitude.
Mm.
B, she did not have the ability. And when she got in, she thought that, okay, fine. I wasn't so great at it. And when she came out, she had a difficult time finding a job. And when she found a job, the salary was half, like what we were saying earlier.
Mm. There are so many similar stories. Quite a few of our clients also have considered taking some of these programs, and not considered. Sorry, they took the programs and then they come to us because they're finding it hard to utilize that story to try and land a role in that specific domain.
Mm.
For example, digital marketing. I think there was somebody who was
Yeah.
doing the consumer studies and analytics and all that, right? And could not land a role. Ended up doing something fairly administrative. I think the person's still there.
Yeah. So if you have unrealistic pivots, thinking that, I'm an accountant, but I want to be a programmer, very far stretch. And it's unrealistic because you have not done enough research on it. And it's also sometimes unrealistic because if you're expecting to get your $10,000 salary you were enjoying in a new role, okay, you will be sadly mistaken, because a lot of times the fact is you may not be skilled up to that level in a new role, okay. And we've seen UI UX designers getting as low as 3,000 ish
Mm.
for a mid-career person. That's a bit painful.
I can imagine, right? If you're a $10,000 accountant And when you come out with your freshly minted
Mm.
certification and you want to get a role in UX design, and the only offers you're getting is $3,000, it's a huge gap in an income. So,
Yeah.
and then people
And
find that it's very hard because I used to make
yeah.
10 grand a month as an accountant, but you're not a 10 grand UX designer.
Yeah, correct. And how many 10 grand UX designers are there? See? So you need to pick and choose carefully. And therein lies the challenge, you see. That there are but sometimes if you want to break into another field, you might want to take a pay cut. And if it's part of your career strategy, then by
Yes.
all means go ahead and do it. Just to share
Yep.
with you a little interesting snippet, which I've shared with a lot of our clients and our listeners already, is that when I pivoted from GE Plastics as the business development person for for the division to into headhunting, I took a huge pay cut. It was a terrible pay cut, okay, but it was part of the strategy. But to be fair, I was not that old at the time. I was about early 30s, so the pay cut wasn't that bad, but I very quickly climbed back to the level and beyond the level which I was at. But if it is a calculated risk and it's part of your strategy, then by all means, after having done all the homework, go ahead and take that jump. But do not have unrealistic pivots, otherwise it's going to be painful.
Yeah. For you, though, I remember your story. It isn't so much a pay cut as much as it is a complete topsy turvy in
Yeah.
how you get paid, because you know that the total income, if you've put in the KPIs and you met all your
Hmm.
KPIs, will be in fact more.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of how it's a term of payment. So again, understanding
Right.
your industry that you're going into,
Hmm.
and making calculated risks.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
So one of the biggest things before you sign up for any of these professional conversion programs, okay. But to be fair, we've seen very successful ones before. one of our
That too.
one of the people who many of the people we've spoken to have made successful pivots, especially if they pivot to something generic like HR or into accounting or these are things that actually can benefit the individuals, but you have to be wise about which program you choose.
Yep, agree. And the thing about the programs, it shouldn't take you away from your old identity. It should add to and be synergistic in some way.
Mm,
So if you want to go into UX and UI and you are a supply chain leader, then how does the UI UX add to your supply chain domain
true.
experience so that every touch point becomes attractive, for instance? That
Yeah.
works. But if it's a
Yeah.
complete like accounting to marketing, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, and for those of us here who are not familiar with what UI UX is user interface, user experience, designing, and I don't know what the relation to supply chain is, but I guess if it's a user experience, I guess so. But using your example, Yen, if I was in supply chain, and one of the things I might want to take up is data analytics because then I can
Mm,
process and optimize. So the supply chain issues of my company, you see. So what we're advising is this for those of our listeners out there: if you want to take up additional courses, ask yourself whether or not it can add to your current portfolio of work and you can be better at it, or is it going to be a total switch over? I'm going to drop everything, and just jump over that ship. If it's the
yeah.
latter case, then you got to be careful.
Just like the many bankers we've seen who go into baking or
Yeah.
what was that, Peranakan cooking teaching classes.
Yes.
They do nothing wrong with that, but it has to be a entirely rational decision
Yeah.
that's aligned to your career strategy.
Hmm. So unrealistic expectations, just make sure you get it out of the way, and it's important. And sometimes you're unfortunately sold a dream that
Mm.
everything will be wonderful and perfect. So get real, go talk to people who've gone through the program and see whether it's something that you are ready for. Okay. And a lot of times people do make career switches, not just in terms of taking out the professional conversion courses, but they do make career switches at the spur of the moment. They are not familiar with the reasons why they do it or what the real reasons are, and they just think it sounds like a great idea.
Mm.
That's dangerous. You need to know your why.
Yeah, sometimes it's an emotional decision because things are just so hot in your current environment. Hot as in
Mm.
very uncomfortable. The people are toxic. Strange things are missing from your table. You're getting nightmares. You can't sleep. You're grinding your teeth. The stress is getting to you, and the
Mhm.
microaggression. So then you go, okay, no, I've had enough, and then it's an emotional decision versus
Yeah,
something that you might do after a lot of planning. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why we always say you have to know your why, and sometimes, oh, in fact, very often, a mid-career switch, a full mid-career switch is a drastic nuclear button sometimes. Okay,
Yeah.
so before you go nuclear straight away, let's go talk to someone, talk to us, and see whether or not it makes sense. Okay, especially when we know people who get so frustrated they quit their jobs and they just go and take up the course and hope for the best, hope there's light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, no, that's dangerous. You need to know why
It
you're
is.
doing it.
And sometimes this is not your first career switch. And if it is your third career
Mm,
switch, your entire career narrative is going to look, well, very
jumpy.
difficult for the next person to want to trust you to stay. So it's
Yeah.
important that, so everyone's different. Do come talk to us about your current situation and see if we can shed some light or give you some ideas. Again, we're not the authority on all the answers. We don't claim to have fortune telling experience. We
Mm.
cannot foresee the future, but we can give you some scaffolding and some support.
Yeah. So know your real reasons why you're making the move. Be very honest with yourself. And if you think that the reasons are valid, for instance, you really want to learn something new, it's an additional skill that's good to have, by all means go. Okay. But do not have unrealistic expectations, as we said earlier. And if you look at it, one of the biggest reasons why mid-career switches fail is because you never mitigated the risk. Either you didn't do your research, you did not get enough information or data points, and that's why you might have an unrealistic expectations on the role. For instance, we had this other individual who was very very literally an accountant, okay, doing the accounting stuff, and she said, "I want to upgrade my skills." And she was in a mid late 30s, she was 36, and she said, "I want to upgrade my skills." And she took on a data analytics course, which was more geared towards programming, Python programming type, Ruby on Rails, Python programming, which is an interesting skill to have. And she thought maybe I can just drop everything and be a data scientist. Okay, but when she came out, she realized that different people have different ideas of what data science is, and she ultimately went back to accounting again with additional skills, which is good. Okay, but it was a detour for her, and she never used those skills in the end because nobody. Why do you need Python programming skills when you're an accountant, right?
You never know. I mean, just as well, her U-turn was successful. But I
Yeah.
was just thinking about this. We've all heard that phrase, right? Do or do not, right?
Mm,
But just jump for it. Take it, because if you plan to
mm.
fail, was it if you fail to plan, you plan to fail? Sorry, but then there are too many
Yeah, that's the one.
people who go YOLO. They go, no, 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 we only live once, so I should just jump in. Because
Mm.
if I create all these nets and backup plans, I'll never put myself out there enough to succeed. Have you heard of that? You know how they have to just go for it, and even if they don't make it, there's no safety net. It's one of those things that they just have to try. But what we are saying is that when it's your career, I think you should have a backup plan,
Yeah,
and then you
fallback
should have
fallback
a
plans. Yeah,
a
fallback
backup
fallback
a,
solutions. Yeah,
and a backup to a backup.
yeah. Just to share with you, after I left the company I was with to start Career Agility in 2018, and it's starting your own business is always very scary, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And even though it was a pivot that I had planned for 6 years already to do, it was still scary. And the way I did it was, I told especially my wife was very concerned. She said, "Are you sure you want to go into the world of business and do your own business? That's a high risk thing." And I said, "Look, I have backup plans. Within 6 months, if it doesn't work out, I've got this, and these three other jobs that are available, which I can talk to people about. Okay, and by the meantime, I'm gonna try it." So even taking a bold move like starting your business, for me, I had backup plans as well. So just make sure you do your research, you get informed, you know where your exit points are, And if you need to run for shelter, just run for shelter. But do your homework, do your research, mitigate the risk.
Correct. Agree. And credit where it's due. I mean, your Ping is very supportive, and
Yes.
if it wasn't for her holding the fort down while you went off and tried your experiments,
Mm,
it's tough. So again, have your partners involved in your decisions so
mhm,
that you have a support structure around you, because maybe during this period of pivoting, you
mhm.
might not be available all the time. And so, yes, your home support structure is very important. Your social
Teamwork
support as well.
Teamwork makes the dream work. No, but yeah, I agree with you. Family support and everything is important. Okay. And for those of you who just joined us, good morning. This is the Career Success Show with Adrian and Yen. I'm Adrian Chu, and I'm the CEO of Career Agility International, and my uh, co-host today is Yen, who's our executive director and co-founder. And we are with Career Agility International. We are Singapore, in fact, the world's only career strategy consulting firm that helps individuals like yourself, no matter whether you're a senior executive, a mid-career person, or very early stage in your career. We help you to gain career clarity so that you can enjoy career success that lasts and is meaningful. So that's what we're here for. And this morning, we are talking about why mid-career switches fail. And part one, we talked about when you are being unrealistic and you've been sold a dream, and that's where a lot of times the plans go awry. And number two, you didn't do enough homework, and now we're talking about mitigating risk. But the third thing that's really important, okay, is sometimes people get analysis paralysis and they don't talk, and what they don't talk only, they don't do. And the mid-career move doesn't even materialize. So what's worse than taking a detour and having to circle back to the main highway again is you don't even take the detour because you're so scared to take it.
It's not wrong to be cautious, and it's in fact good to be cautious. I think you should look both ways before
It is.
you cross the road. And I think if you have lined up all of your eggs, line up your ducks, line up your eggs.
Ducks.
That when you line up all your
you,
ducks,
you count your
then
chickens before they're
then
hatched. The count your
right.
eggs. Okay, never mind.
So
It's
maybe
Friday
then
morning.
when you do shoot, you don't waste bullets. And yeah, take baby steps. Absolutely.
Yeah. So like what Yoda said, do not try not do. Okay, I have no idea what I'm not in a Yoda mode this morning, but you know what he said, go Google it. Basically, don't try, do. Okay, sometimes and also to share my own personal experience, when I started Career Agility International in 2018, uh in 2017 and 2016, I had so many grand plans and everything else. But when rubber hit the road in January of 2018, when in the first month of operation, so much got done. And it only got done because I had quit my previous company, and now suddenly, I've broken free from the chains, and I had time to focus. And a lot of exciting things happened only after I took the first step. So sometimes the courage to take the first step is the biggest hurdle you need to overcome. So I encourage you, if you feel that you're in a situation where your skill sets are expiring or your industry is not moving in the right direction, that's growing, or maybe even on the verge of being extinct, I implore you to consider a mid-career switch, but not something that's too radically far from where you are, and take the first steps, baby steps.
Yeah. It may sound contradictory because the whole morning we're talking about why it's not going to work. But now we're saying, hey, you know what? It should, because if you do it and you focus your efforts on it, great, get professional help,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
And it will work. It will work. Of course,
Yeah.
listen to the professionals. I mean, if the professional says,
Mm,
hey, this is a pipe dream, not sure that you have considered all the
yeah,
dimensions, take the advice as well. Don't
yeah.
just be selective about it. Can you imagine? I was like, oh, this guy says it's definitely going to succeed. I'll open a bubble tea shop in the corner. And then someone else goes, no, you better be careful because there's not enough traffic. And then you just take the first
Uh,
guy's advice,
yeah,
being
and bubble
all
tea is
like
passe. Now it's coconut.
optimistic.
Everywhere
I
you
happen
turn
to
around,
like
it's a
bubble
coconut
tea.
drink.
I
Yeah.
happen to like bubble tea. So there.
Okay, good. And your three kids are all bubble tea fans, right?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's but
The
coconuts
sweeter,
in
the
now. So
better. Okay.
yeah, well, they're young. Their pancreas can handle it, so it's okay. Yeah, we need to watch. But what we really are imploring you to do is that if so, for there are two groups of people we're trying to talk to today. Those who are already in those who are considering making a mid-career switch. Okay, these switches are risky. Think
Yep.
properly, calculate, do your math, do your research, do your homework. Better still, come talk to us. Shorten your learning curve, mitigate your risk. Okay, we have given very good advice to individuals. Come talk to us, and if you ask me, I will proudly say that I literally wrote the book on career crossroads. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to come to us. You can reach us at info@careeragility.org. And but for the other group of people who have already embarked on their journey on their career switch, okay, and if they are already taking up their professional conversion courses, and they're starting to either feel a bit nervous or unsure, or they've already finished the conversion courses and they're struggling. Okay, come talk to us as well. If we always welcome questions, and we're always happy to respond. So come reach
Yeah.
us, info@careeragility.org.
Absolutely. Have a think about it. The It's always going to time's not going to move backwards. No matter where you are today, it's always nice to take a pause, check in, and see if what options, what else is opening up, where else can I consider, what are the other aspects I should look at, and
Mm,
and then we can optimize your decision a lot better. Sometimes
that's true.
going blindly into a decision it can work, but it also, there's not, yeah, blind optimism doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and it's true. And why take the risk? Okay, why take the risk when there's someone else who's there already? So in summary, what we want to share with you is this: do not let fear stop you. I know we are telling you all the scary stuff that could happen, but there's also wonderful stuff that could happen. We know a lot of pivoters who have successfully pivoted. They've had enjoyed second win, third win to their careers, and I think that's wonderful. But also because they've done a lot of homework. So we are imploring you: take the risk, take the jump, but mitigate your risk. Do your homework, talk to experts, know what you're getting into. Don't be emotional about it, and do not let fear stop you. And one of the big career regrets, when I read an article, it was quite interesting. This person interviewed a lot of older folks who are retired, and when they
Mm,
asked them what's the biggest career regret of yours, and one of the biggest career regrets was either working too hard. That's one thing. I think I worked too hard. Actually, I
mm,
worked a bit less hard. Uh, but the other career regret which they had was I didn't take that risk. I didn't take that jump. I know the opportunity came up. I didn't take that jump. I think I shared some time back about this person I know, who said that back in 2004, 2005, he had coffee with an entrepreneur who was talking to him about a fantastic business idea, and how it could work and everything else. And he said, okay, yeah, that's good. No, congratulations. I hope it works out well. And the company IPO'd a couple of years back. Okay. And looking back, he said, actually, that wasn't just a coffee, that was a job interview. I didn't know it.
yes,
I
he
just
did
said
know
yes.
it.
Yeah.
People don't recognize such interactions if they're not tuned into the right channel and
Yeah.
frequency.
Yeah.
So if you've spoken with us, we'll tell you that all of such coincidental meetings can be converted into opportunities.
So that's
Please,
why
yes.
when opportunity meets preparedness, magic happens. So
Yeah, yeah. And
don't,
luck.
don't,
Suddenly
yeah,
you're
and
very lucky and you don't know why, but it's
yeah.
because we told you to do certain things.
Listen to the career agility coaches. Okay. So, in summary, mid-career switches are actually good for you. Go in with your eyes open. That's what we're saying. And if you're already in the
Yes.
middle of one and having difficulties, come talk to us. Because we have very interesting career partner programs. If you want to get promoted, or if you're thinking of making a career switch, or if you're already in
Mm,
the midst of a career switch, or sometimes you just don't know why you're not happy. Okay, come talk to
mm,
us. Yesterday, I spoke to an individual who who ultimately he was just thinking that I'm not happy at the work. Okay, but after an hour of uncovering, there was so much insights being generated that he's in a better place today because he's trying to untangle all these elements. So that's what we do when we do very well. So come talk to us. We have one-on-one coaching sessions. We have very highly customized partnership programs. It's a journey that we will take together with you so that you don't have to face any unnecessary risks.
Yeah, and you don't have to go it alone because it's a very lonely journey. It's very stressful. Managing your career. It is.
It is.
You're judged all the time. You feel like the world is against you. You can't really be openly vulnerable. But having some people on your side, having a team, and like that boxer who's like he's got his coach and this person who support him, cheerleading squad. It will be a little bit easier. Your journey will be just a little bit easier.
True. And one LinkedIn user, he's sharing about how we helped him. It's quite interesting because, career switches are not easy, but they're not difficult either. Okay, so lots of cases where we've helped. Come talk to us. And, as the weekend is coming, here's a little homework for you, for those of us who have a little bit of mind space on the weekend, Are you happy with your current job? Do you see there's growth in your industry? Do you see there is a pathway to growth in the role you're at? Okay, and if you think that the role you're at has very limited future or potential, it may not be just the role doesn't have the potential, but so you may be in a role that doesn't need that senior person in after a while. Okay, the role doesn't grow with you. You might want to consider switching out, and that's where you got to ask yourself, what do I want to do next, and how am I going to get there? Okay, so that's a homework for you this weekend. Think about what you want to do next, what's next, and how do I get there?
What's next? What shall I have for dinner tonight?
Well, I've got a busy day ahead. I'm gonna give a talk at INSEAD.
Yes.
It's a global INSEAD day, and for all the INSEADers who are watching today, I'll see you guys there. We'll be talking about career fulfillment and personal happiness. What's the relationship, and are there models we can use to achieve both at the same time? The big question: can we have it all?
Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes, you can have it all. Okay. But the coolest thing about it is that the weekend is here, and we want to wish everyone a very happy weekend. And of course, I think this weekend, I'm looking at the weather now. Today's weather looks beautiful and wonderful. And I think we're all going to have a fantastic weekend ahead, aren't we?
Take time to decompress, everyone. Spend some time reflecting and some time recharging, and disconnect from your devices for just a while. Yeah.
Disconnect. That's going to be tough.
I'm trying. It's not working.
I haven't read a physical book in years. So even when I'm reading, my reading is still on my tablet.
No, I can't read on a book anymore because the pages the words are too small. Yeah, we've reached a certain vintage.
Otherwise, you'll be pinching out your page. Like, it's not working. The words are too small.
Yeah. Anyway, take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Have a
good weekend.
Okay. Take care. Bye.